We were all about to share dinner. I was standing out on the porch installing Wi-Fi booster, and the light was spotted. It lit up on that tree over there and stayed there humming and buzzing, throwing off photons like sparklers along the edge of the craft. The light, it hit my leg like a gallon jug of milk with about 1.5 inches of concrete down at the bottom. Doorbell rang. Loud knocks on the door. Rushed to find a weapon of terrifying fear. We were being attacked. A home invasion by ghouls of dark power and negative light. 4-day Earth and 1-day time. It had infiltrated the cause of this effect relationship. It sent my hand for the gun. While I was collecting knives over in the kitchen, it became fractured. Time itself broke into pieces. These events were occurring out of order to me without reason. The lights stopped working and the cable went out. My body was skipping through time out of order, a stone thrown into the water only to have the ripple start wide and then coalesce into a single disturbance. A single moment, isolated, intense pain in my leg. I was angry that someone was coming to steal my food, and my screams were loud and violent. But as much as they were, it did nothing but increase the pain I was feeling in my broken leg. I felt surrounded by Indians. They were trying to help my soul. These were dead Indians or spirit Indians. They had come in through my dreams whispering advice of otherworldly love for my life. The largest of them was a big man. He dreamed my broken leg into a pipe, and I watched with detached infection as small spirits came around my existence and sucked smoke through my dislocated leg and shared in communion, peace with one another, stillness in the middle of the night. My boots, they were ruined. The impact of that light against my leg, I looked down and my leg was broken. I raised my hands, submitting to that light, that blinding, physical power of that light. These little short guys, little short fellas, these aliens, these demons, they seemed fat and purple. And they're coming around that porch, and up to the table, they were eating the fried chicken, all of it. They were scarfing down on all the fried chicken we had made ready for lunch. They ate it all up, and they polished off a pile of biscuits over there, and I was just over there frozen on that ladder with my leg broke. Long-term goals were confused with real-time pain. The concept of myself, it too, was broken into distinct areas of vibrational energy. I watched in horror as the chicken dinner was eaten in front of my paralyzed body. Chicken at that moment had become my mother, my mother's mother, and her mother's mother, and so on. This weight, this combined psychological pain from these entities became directly related to the chicken and the consumption of chicken that I was witnessing. One of them came up and he stared me in my eyes, and it was like looking to an insect eye. Couldn't tell what he was looking at. I could feel him though in my head. Felt like there was a nuclear pit, like right above my pituitary gland, and it was pulsing in size, milking that gland. Deliberately pulsing destructively. Tentacles slowly growing out of it, out of that pit, reaching up into my soft matter of my brain. That little ugly one was near me. He was somewhat transparent at this point. I stabbed rods of crystal right into his eye sockets. Seems obvious to me now that the Wi-Fi signal was vibrationally conspiratorial and allowing this to happen. I know for a fact my pineal gland was flushed. Spectrum of chakras came out like a pop zit. Exploded against the mirror of time, reflecting like a wave propagated backwards through itself. I saw it expand in through the ethereal veil at each and every point of collision. It's constructive or destructive interference, depending on your point of view. Perhaps that's why the alien held up a ball of light and he said, "This is inside of you. It's shining through you. Another reflection in another you. Same, but from a different point of view." My father and his line went back to the very first virus. Became a palpable debt. It was paid for. With the sadness I felt and the contrast of that sadness with my inner desire for more, for property, for ownership, for agency itself. Some meaning drove me forward, and it extended as anger and a desire to cause chaos. The rest of my family, they were frozen in place, but they were all slightly vibrating. Their bodies were locked into a seizure of momentary control, battling the force that was trying to keep them still. It was sort of a back and forth, like a tug of war over their souls. They're sitting there, oscillating in time. This is oscillation I could feel in the movement of that nuclear pit, centered there in my brain. It was vibrating with combined duplication of all my family's individual frequencies. I did grab that large wooden spoon from the potato salad and I wedged it down the gullet of one of them aliens. The demon at the end of it under my hand was choking, and he fought with me. Those short, fat arms of his, he was still fighting when I took the chance, and I used my left hand to push that spoon harder into the throat area. I twisted and pulled on it, and I ripped through that internal flesh and spilled damage enough to block his airflow. I pulled on it like a handle, a switch that had existence on one side and death on the other. This vibration was turned into colors and emotion by the very action of them tentacles up there. They were broadcasting this message deep within my memory and all my thoughts. And questions about free thought, and they laughed when my thoughts answered that I believed in the concept. Their laughter was very contagious and very strong, hard to resist. They asked me if I wanted to kill them right on the spot. They already knew the answer was yes when they asked it. This too was a joke to them. As I thumbed through thoughts of how to answer, they just laughed and laughed, eating that chicken and watching me squirm. I was hearing all the snakes talking to me at this point. They're making the best argument I'd ever heard for following Robert's rules of order. But something in the way I visualized this truth disturbed me. As pure as I'd ever felt, and I sure as hell I'd never felt anything like it. me to defend that line of thought, and they tortured my broken leg while they did it with pain and visual images. It's hallucinations of horses, many horses, peeing on that leg, that calf, that foot, that ankle. The horse was still, and he became equipped with a soldier dressed in a military outfit. His clothing was complete with ribbons and gold. They asked me if I knew what gravity was. Again, they laughed and they probed my mind for understanding and explanations. At this point, I was angry that the fried chicken had mostly been consumed, and the intact, fully headed ghost of those chickens were squawking very loudly around the air of the place, floating somewhat like a blimp. My experience and my existence became three unique viewpoints. There was myself, then there was me, the director, and then there was me, the judge. Myself, what was happened. The director was what I perceived, and the judge decided who would live or die to experience this with me. Myself, my true self, was happening with me along for the ride. Felt like there was nothing I could do but watch it unfold. I traveled this line through time, and in many ways it was like I was on a slot car. A slot car track. No variance, no choice. These boundaries between elements of my awareness, they were troubled by the inconsistencies of their meanings and their chase. It's like playing hide and seek with knowledge, only to have that knowledge rewritten when the demons were found hiding in the bathroom just under the sink. There was love down there, and there was a sexual attraction. I felt it with blood, and it became in quick order, a liquid. The blood became life, data, sexual attraction. It was warmth, the sacred, the profane. It was a mess all over the floor. Symmetry is how something can be one. An arrangement or an assemblage of shared meanings coupled with thought. These detached emotions, they form patterns, and all of this simultaneously as being two things. Its identity is one, its placement in form is two, its existence is one, and it's for as two, time, place, pattern. They asked me to defend that line of thought, and they tortured my broken leg with pain and visual images of horses and images of demons like horses peeing on that leg, that calf, that foot, that ankle. The boundaries between these elements of my existence and my awareness were troubled by the inconsistencies of the meanings of their chase. It seems obvious to me now that the Wi-Fi signal was vibrationally conspiratorial in this action that was allowed to happen. I know for a fact that my pineal gland was flushed. Felt the spectrum of chakras come out of me like a pop zit. Exploded against the mirror of time and reflected back onto me like a wave propagated backwards through itself, expanding like ripples on a pond, expanding through the ethereal veil at each and every point of collision with itself. These patterns explode and come back into themselves. They cause inflection points along the patterns of disturbance and destructive interference. It's destructive interference coming back into itself and piercing that veil at every point. It's when the alien held up the last of the chicken, which at this point was a ball of light. He calmly said, "This is inside you. You know it's shining through you. Another reflection, another you. the same, but from a different point of view. 3 dead children, like a princess. One was dressed like a living sponge. One was dressed, and like a ninja, the other was dressed. Were strewn dead around the table, dead children around us, forks sticking out of their eyes and neck, and a large wooden spoon wedged down one of their throats. Many people had died. We were not the only ones. We were not the only ones this had happened to. It's tragic what happened on Halloween, because I'm sure that it added to the confusion that the aliens had brought to us. What were they trying to show me? Did they just want the children? Was this experience a trick or a treat? I'm in solitary confinement now, and I could not be happier. This is perfect. It's what I always wanted. Y'all can leave me the hell alone. I'm here and everywhere, and my shit makes the most beautiful patterns on the wall. It allows me to express things to them, and in turn they talk back to me through them. I'm able to bleed at will through exposure of my blood. My nails, they're tools. My mind, it's a lever. I'm pulling for you. I pull it for you. I'm pulling that lever for all of you.